What's going on, guys? Gibbs is back. We're going to be talking about the 4 new DLC cars, their hitboxes, and their turn races. This all comes from, what's his name? Varixai. I could be saying that completely wrong. I'm not sure exactly how to say it. He's one of the community members on the subreddit, and I'll link some stuff into the description for you guys to give some props to him. But I figured, in case you didn't see it on Reddit, I would break down the differences in the hitboxes compared to some of the more popular cars with the new DLC. So first, we'll start with the Marauder. Basically, the Marauder is exactly like the Octane, just slightly bigger in all aspects, and the turn radius is slightly better. So as you can see here, the length is just slightly bigger than the Octane. Same with width. There's not too much of a difference, but the Marauder is actually the second widest car in the game, which is pretty big deal, I guess. If it depends how your dribble style is, because sometimes you want narrow cars so you can cut in and out. Sometimes you want the width to do more flips, like side flips to throw it up in the air. It all depends what you like. And Marauder's also slightly taller. I believe, let's see, it is the 5th tallest car in the game. That's behind like Merc and of course Sweet Tooth and a couple others. Actually, Scarab's up there pretty high as well. The Gizmo and the Grog slightly are taller than the Marauder, but overall it's just slightly bigger than an Octane in all aspects. So you would think, maybe turn radius might be a little bit shorter. That's not the case. So there's two different ways that a Varixai, I can't remember that name off the top of my head. He does turn radius by 0% boosting and 100% boosting. So the higher the number, the better. So again, Marauder is just slightly better, like barely anything in 0% boosting. Same thing with 100% boosting. It's actually a little bit bigger for the 100% boosting for Marauder, the turn radius. So both are just slightly better than Octane. So if you used to rock the Octane, Marauder might be a good choice for you. It's basically an Octane, just slightly better in all aspects. It depends, because hitbox, when it's bigger, doesn't necessarily mean it's better. It just depends what you like. I personally like bigger hitboxes for the most part, so it's just slightly better than the Octane in all cases. Of course, like if you can't get used to how the hitbox plays on the Marauder, like Octane is obviously perfectly viable. It's like fractions of inches here. It's not a huge deal. Choose the car that you like more than anything. But we'll move on to the Aftershock. All right, so Aftershock versus the Dominus. It's exactly the same hitbox-wise, exactly as the Dominus. As you can see here, length, width, height, all exactly the same as the Dominus. The Aftershock actually turns a little bit slower than the Dominus at 0% boosting, but at 100% boosting, it turns slightly better. So, I mean, overall, it's basically exactly Dominus. If you were a Dominus user, you might like the Aftershock. Personally, it seems a little weird that the hitboxes are the same when the car shapes are so different. Because the Dominus is a lot shorter, I believe, in the game, or at least what I perceive it to be. It seems like it's a ton shorter. But if you like the Dominus, Aftershock might be good for you. Of course, the jet turbine sound effect might throw off some people. A lot of people, it's like a love-hate relationship with that. Some people love it, some people hate it. But overall, if you use the Dominus and you're interested in a new car, definitely Aftershock is your choice if you want basically exactly the same. Now, if you want in between, like, hey, I like Dominus, but, Breakout, she's pretty bae. I kind of like both, but I feel like I'm cheating on one or the other. Instead, let's just have the child of the Breakout and the Dominus. Masamune is basically exactly right in between these two cars. Maybe not exactly like right in the middle, but take some traits from both. The length is just a bit smaller than the Breakout, but it's just a bit longer than the Dominus. It's basically right in the center there between those two. Width, basically right in the center as well. Breakout is thinner, while Dominus is wider. And so Masamune falls right in between there. And then the height tends more towards the Dominus side. Breakout is really, really short. Breakout, I think, is one of the shortest cars in the game. It's pretty close. Batmobile's a little bit shorter and a couple others, but pretty short. Masamune bumps it up to the Dominus range, which of course isn't that tall to begin with, but it's a little bit better on that scale. Just slightly shorter than the Dominus. So hitbox wise, they're basically right in the middle. So like if you've liked the Breakout or the Dominus, maybe Masamune is the one for you. You can always try it out there. Of course, turn radius, Masamune is actually better than both the Breakout and Dominus at 0% and at 100%. So if you want a car that's like Breakout or Dominus, but you like a better turn radius, because who doesn't like a better turn radius? Masamune might be your choice. So for Dominus, you could go Aftershock. If you want something slightly different, go the Masamune. If you like Breakout, there's nothing exactly like the Breakout, but Masamune is a good transition towards a little bit bigger of a car, except for the length. Breakout's just a little bit taller, or wider. See, so length, height, I don't know. Length could be tallness as well. Height could be tallness. It's very confusing. Very confusing. But that is the Masamune. Now, moving on to the Esper. The Esper is a little bit weird. There's not a ton of cars like it. The closest comparisons that Varixai had was actually between the Esper and the Hotshot. The lengths are pretty similar. Like, Esper's a tiny bit shorter. Widths are almost identical as well. Again, the Esper's a little bit smaller in width. But then the Esper has a much greater height than the Hotshot. The Hotshot's actually right in the middle of tallness in the game. And then the Esper is, like, actually not that much taller in terms of comparison sakes between the other cars, but it is taller in units. Like 3 units is a pretty substantial amount. Problem is, like, there's a ton of cars that kind of jump that gap between that 31 and the 34. Most of them go from 31-ish to 35. So you don't gain too many ranks like over the other cars. The only one it really passes is the Zippy for the Esper's sake for height. But it's still a taller car, and it actually compares pretty well with some of these cars up here. Like, see how, like, Marauder and Octane 36, see how that bump from, like, 31 to 36. Same with, like, Aftershock and Dominus, like, they're at that 31. It's just a big gap in between there. So if you want something in between, where you never really liked the height of the Octane, maybe it was too tall for you, and maybe Dominus and Breakout are way too short for you, maybe you'll like the Esper? Maybe? It's right in between there. There's not a lot of other cars like the Esper. It is the thinnest car, or one of the thinnest cars in the game. Batmobile is a little bit thinner, I believe. Oh no, I'm sorry. Batmobile is extremely wide. My bad. I was thinking of turn radius. But the Esper 0% boost in has an okay turn radius. It's not as good as the Masamune, as you can see here. Not as good as the Aftershock or the Marauder. So it is the worst of all the cars. And then 100% boost in, it's okay again. Again, it's slightly worse than all the other cars except for the Marauder and the Octane. So, like, it's kind of average in terms of all stats for the most part between the Esper and anything, really. The Hotshot's the closest comparison for hitbox, at least. But it seems like they try and get the turning radiuses slightly better on all these new DLC cars. As you can see here, the Esper is still greater than the Hotshot by a decent amount. But then also the Masamune, which I forgot to mention, 0% boosted turn radius is actually the best in the game completely. And then 100% boosted is only behind the Batmobile. It has the second best turn radius at 100%. So basically, the best turn radius in the game if you consider an average. So Masamune, like, if you really want sharp turns without the handbrake, go for the Masamune. But if you like taller hitboxes, then you might want to go towards the Marauder. And then, of course, if you just like the Dominus and just want to change a pace, go Aftershock. Esper's kind of the one where it's like, it's hard to say when to choose it. Personally, I like the car the best out of the 4 for the looks, because I like the whole look of it, because I don't really care about, like, actual cars. I like, you know, when they change it up a bit. But it is a little bit weird with the length and the width. And the turning radius isn't great. So it's hard to call when you want to use it, but it does look damn sexy. So personally, I just like using it because it's damn sexy. Again, these car stats are very, very, very small in the grand scheme of things. Choose the car you like the most. It could also be just placebo effect. Like, because you like the look of Esper, you're going to play better on the Esper because you're like slightly happier. I don't know. I'm not a sports psychiatrist. I'm not a psychiatrist at all. Don't ask me these questions. But personally, I do like the Marauder a lot. And I like the Esper personally because I like taller hitboxes. That's just the way I play. So those two cards I tend to over the Masamune and the Aftershock. But if you really like turn radius, I would probably consider Masamune a little bit better than Aftershock since we already have a Dominus. No need for another one. So if I had to like rank them, I would probably put like Marauder for myself. Marauder, Esper, Masamune, Aftershock. But all four cars are pretty cool. Go check them out. They're all $2 on pretty much all platforms. They're all purchased separately. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the stats. I want to thank Varixai, which I think is wrong. I have no idea. Again, on the subreddit, go give him some love. I will link his subreddit and the post in the description. But on that, guys, that'll do it. And hope you enjoy the video. Let me know. Thanks. We're done here now.